The Ukrainian president spoke at an iftar with Muslim officials, including the Crimean Tatars. Meanwhile, Kyiv said it would resume electricity exports to Europe after a 6-month hiatus. DW summarized the latest situation. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskiy said that there is no alternative for Ukraine other than taking control of Crimea. The world should know respect and order will only return to international relations when the Ukrainian flag is returned to Crimea, when there is freedom there, Zelensky said in a video message released by his office. Ukraine's president held an official iftar for Muslims in the country, including military soldiers, officials and diplomats, on Friday. He said that event, which represents Muslims to break fast during holy month of Ramadan, will be first of a new tradition. Zelensky also condemned Russia's treatment of the Muslim Tatar community in Crimea. The Muslim ethnic minority is a native of the Crimean Peninsula. However, many have fled recently for fear of persecution, while others are currently held in Russian custody. The Ukrainian president thanked Muslims, saying they missed peace and protection from evil. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva recently proposed that Kyiv give up on the Crimean Peninsula, which was illegally annexed by Russia in 2014, as a compromise in a potential peace deal with Moscow. Other noteworthy developments regarding the war waged by Russia in Ukraine on Saturday, April 8, are as follows. Ukraine says it is ready to resume electricity exports to Europe after a 6-month shutdown. Ukraine will resume electricity exports to Europe as Kyiv struggles under Russian missile attacks targeting the country's infrastructure. Energy Minister Herman Halushchenko said on Friday that Ukraine's electricity grid has been operating for nearly 2 months without consumption restrictions and without resorting to a power reserve. It was reported that Halushchenko said, "The hardest winter is over. The next step is to continue exporting electricity, which will allow us to attract additional financial resources for the necessary reconstruction of destroyed and damaged electrical infrastructure." Ukraine is allowed to export a maximum of 400 megawatts to the European energy grid. However, minister said the actual amount of exports will depend on needs of Ukrainian consumers. Despite the war, Ukraine continued to export electricity to the European Union and neighboring Moldova until October, when Russia began targeting Kyiv's infrastructure. UK Ministry of Defence says Ukraine's energy situation likely to improve. Meanwhile, the UK Ministry of Defence predicted in its daily war briefing that Ukraine's energy situation will begin to improve as the weather warms up. The ministry said that preparations for the coming winter have already begun. He added that Russia's attacks on energy infrastructure have become rare over the past month. Russia's campaign to seriously downgrade Ukraine's unified energy system in the winter of 2022-23 most likely failed, the ministry said. He added that although smaller-scale strikes continue, they are believed to have less of an impact on the combined energy system. Russia may be behind leak of classified U.S. documents. Russian or pro-Russian elements were believed to be behind the leak of classified U.S. military documents detailing U.S. and NATO assistance to Ukraine. The documents date from February 23, 2023 to March 1, 2023. They are also labeled as confidential. Documents detail U.S. and NATO military support to Ukraine. Muhammad Enes Yildirim, a picture alliance. They seem detailed deliveries of weapons and other equipment to Ukraine with more precise timelines than the U.S. generally provides the public. The U.S. Department of Justice launched an investigation into the possible leak on Friday. But some U.S. officials said the documents may have been altered or used as part of a misinformation campaign. Britain's Ministry of Defence said Russia was gaining some momentum in the battle for Bakhmut. Meanwhile, U.S. media reported that secret plans for the spring attack in Ukraine were leaked to internet. Follow DW for more. Without weapons of the West, Ukraine has no hope of taking land from Moscow, but its forces have a more pressing problem finding ammunition to hold weapons they are using. DW reports how the so-called bullet hunger has affected how this war is waged. Germany's old-fashioned peace movement is increasingly divided over how to respond to the war in Ukraine. Traditional Easter walks are becoming less and less relevant for the younger generation. RMTKB.